subscribe to my YouTube channel. I don't have one, but
subscribe.
Make sure you subscribe.
She makes it.
I'll be on Snapchat.
It'll be on my funeral grave. It'll be on my funeral grave. Make sure to come to my funeral.
How are you gonna make YouTube videos?
I'm just gonna shout out my funeral real quick. So.
Hi guys, I'm Izzy.
I'm Gracey.
I'm Danielle.
I'm Karyn.
I'm Nismie.
And we are watching today's episode of Generation Imagination. Today we have a panel of people from the Future Black Leaders Club at our school who are here to talk about Black History Month with us.
Let's get to it.
The first one I have here is, what do you think is most important about Black History Month?
I think it's the recognition that there are things that you need to recognize in Black history that have been like systemically ignored, like traditionally into our textbooks and everything. So like there is a place for Black History Month to like exist. Like if you took it out, most of the things that personally that I know today, like I wouldn't really know about. Like there are certain people that like I admire very much today that I would like been like, oh my God, whoa, I never knew they existed because George Washington is all I learn about. But I think it's a really cool month.
Also, the fact that we don't learn anything new besides from Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks kind of hurts my nerves.
I think of it more so as like a stepping stone. Just kind of like it's nice to have a month where, we think more about it, but, I just personally, it's a little bittersweet, I should say, because, I wish there were more days of the month where it was more so you're thinking about it every day instead of just like 28, 29 days out of a year.
Yeah. It's funny how it's the shortest month too.
Oh yeah, that's tea. That's cute, isn't it?
Can't they make it like January, like at the beginning of the year when you have like
No,
Martin Luther King Jr.?
It's too early to recognize the Black people.
We don't come out
What's
in
that
the cold.
supposed to mean?
You don't come out in the cold.
Yes.
What? Do you see Black people in Russia?
Right.
No, you don't. You don't go to the cold places.
Maybe like July.
where?
Oh, but wait,
you don't
there's like
inhabit
July
those
4th,
places.
which is Independence Day. Maybe it's meant for us. Any other month is just like not cute,
Yeah.
But you guys go.
I completely agree. I'm way less educated on it than I would like to be. So I think it would be interesting. Do you guys know who actually like created it or started it? Was
Black
it
History
created
Month?
by someone white?
No.
Simply as like, here's your time, you can take it as
Isn't
a
it one of the
blessing from us?
presidents?
Or was it?
I think it's one of the presidents, maybe. Yeah.
Wikipedia says is that it was first started as like Black History Week by Carter G. Woodson in 1926, and then Black History Month as we know it today was first proposed by Black educators and the Black United Students at Kent State University in 1969.
And it was originally chosen to be that week because it fell across Abraham Lincoln's birthday.
Abraham Lincoln, I've heard some things about him. I don't trust that man.
Not gonna lie, he only did it as a political ploy.
It was not
Exactly.
for the
It
slave.
wasn't
That was
personal
not the
choice.
reason.
He just
That was
wanted
not
peace in the
reason
country,
he
that's
did
why
it.
he
That
did
was-
it.
He wanted to bring it back together. Okay.
Popular opinion controls our president. So if most people were like, I don't think
He
this
just
is
wants
right
to be
anymore. He's like, I mean, I guess.
All presidents
So-
want to do is be reelected. That's their end goal, the long-term goal. They can't be
Long-term.
reelected.
They just want to be like in the books.
That's just.
Not the unforgettable
but
president.
I feel that we're getting slightly. We're veering, but
Oh,
like.
it's okay.
I guess now that I know the origins, I just agree that I don't see what would happen with it. I assume it would just like stay and add as like an extra commemoration in the future, but it's definitely just a little irritating, and you can tell it's just an additional like extension of the systematic oppression that it's given as like 1 month, and that's the only time that you ever really learn about it. And even still within that month, it's usually just like MLK, Rosa Parks, that sort of thing. You never really dive deep into the history, and people just kind of like share that it's Black History Month but don't really educate or do anything with it. So it's definitely just like the goal of reincorporation into like standard curriculum and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I have never seen like teachers, especially like history teachers, take a specific day or like even like in the month to be like, this is Black History Month, this is why, this is what we're going to learn about. It's like business as usual, except for the fact that the month has a different like name.
Yeah.
So I think it is interesting. I agree. I think it is like a stepping stone, in that like it's good that we are finally recognizing that something needs to be done to appreciate and like learn, but that we need to take it further in order to like ensure equality. Like this isn't by any means making it equal or like erasing the history. It is just appreciating.
You bring up an interesting point, and I guess it's kind of like soon to bring this up, but I think the term like Black History Month kind of implies, and like when people think that they know a lot about it, it's just kind of implying that all oppression is like in the past and we should really address what happened. But do you guys think that it should be more of a month of like education on the history, or should it be more of a month that's like a call to action for the present?
Something I was going to bring up a minute ago, and it just reminded me of it, is that, we talk about Black history, but, we just talk about African American history, which is, like, kind of just started, this is the Americas, so we talk about it. But it's kind of like there's more to Black history than what happened when we were brought over to the Americas. There's African history. We don't ever talk, like, I've never had a teacher bring up African studies. Like, that's just never a thing that comes up.
We have a class.
Yeah, we have a class.
So I'm taking it.
That's gonna be my major in college.
I already took ethnic studies.
Right? Yeah. But I'm here for that.
It's
But,
ridiculous that it's an elective study when they teach
Yeah,
white
it's
history
an elective.
for like
Well, I think a curriculum, like it's a mandatory thing.
Yeah.
U.S. history, which is not our history.
Yeah.
But I think the intention is still there with U.S. history. Like they don't. It's obviously not
they
intended
cover
to be
other
explicitly
things.
white.
Yes.
Yeah.
The only like class I've actually had that's actually mentioned and like gone through like some like more important people than like your Rosa Parks, your Martin Luther King Jr.'s is A Push with Mr. Shaw, and that's it. Other than that, like it's barely mentioned. But like nowadays, like I mean, some of my classes are like starting to like help in like African American Heritage Night. That's it.
Well, I've taken A-Push and I've also taken ethnic studies with Bockenfeld, and that class was like, it wasn't focused on like African American history or just Black history in general, but there was like an aspect of it that like did talk about what presently is going on and how it relates to like history in itself. And I think the month should be that, like we should be educated on what like happened in the past, but also that it's continuing and it's like technically still happening today. Like slavery was a thing, but mass incarceration is like a thing now.
Slavery is still a thing.
Yeah, slavery is still a thing. There were like organizations trying to actually stop slavery. So interesting that like sometimes we talk about it and we're like, well, it's over, so we don't need to talk about it anymore. Like it doesn't affect us, so like stop talking about it. And I think that's the dumbest sentence ever.
Yeah. And even if certain things aren't happening right now, we still feel the effects.
Yeah.
And like the generational oppression that is carried down, for sure.
Yeah, it was almost the entire erasure of our culture, which, there are a lot of cultures, we pride ourselves on being a country that's like a mixing pot, We have a bunch of different people from all walks of life who come over here, but it's kind of like, at the same time, our cultures get muddled and mixed with other cultures, and then you start wondering, okay, but where did it come from?
And then like it becomes like cool in like modern day society, like to be different.
Yeah.
And then everybody's taking like a 23andMe test, and then you take yours, and it's like, we're getting more data on Africa. It's like you're never gonna get the data you need to identify where I'm from and like what's happening, because like you just can't.
Plus the fact that we coin ourselves as the land of the free and the home of the brave is like a little bit too much in my opinion.
I think we're setting up high standards that we can't.
We're a new frontier.
Everyone's involved, everyone's welcome to the US, but then there's just like people who just like stay where you came from. You'll never be allowed in the country.
I think that we treat our laws and like our like government system as like it was engraved in stone, and like whoever you religiously believe in, like the higher power, like created it, and that's that. Like it cannot be changed. And like I don't understand that, because most of these rules like we abide by today were created forever ago, and we're still like trying to tweak it or work around it. And I guess they were like set to the basics, but like I don't like that our your constitution says that I'm 3/5 of a person. Like it just doesn't make me feel comfortable.
It's still in there.
That's crazy.
It's a little crazy that's still in there.
Yeah, we haven't changed it.
Not that we're not trying to blame or point fingers, but it's just like.
I mean, it doesn't apply
Yeah,
anymore, but it's still embedded in the document.
I mean, it's fair to say our ancestors oppressed your ancestors.
But what I meant by like, but what I meant by your country, by your government, I didn't mean like white, like race. I meant that like I'm not American, so I was just trying.
Yeah.
I mean, I am, but like my parents are from Africa.
I'm the only like, I'm American.
African American.
Yeah, I'm African. Yeah, Nismie's Haitian. Karyn's from Ghana. I'm just African American.
Ghanaian household.
Yo, Haitian.
I'm as basic as you're gonna get.
Ghanaians.
Ew.
American.
Go home.
They blocked you.
I've been canceled.
deleted.
So I have, in a world that we find ourselves increasingly connected to each other throughout the world. You mentioned 23andMe, which I thought was interesting, especially by introducing like the internet like worldwide. How do you think that the introduction of the internet changed activism?
I feel like it's making it worse. To be
Really?
honest.
I think it's making it like easier and better to be an activist. Instead of like having to be in this specific part of California and you had to get the newspaper 3 weeks earlier to be able to go out to the rally and like becoming like an advocate and say that what you are. Now you can just like be on Instagram for like 3 seconds and like post something and just be like, hey, you guys should be informed about this. And I think that is something that's going on that we can stop. And like, since public opinion does control democracy, I think it's easier to be an activist now, because once you share something, then everybody can get a hold of it. And it just becomes like this whirlpool of just like, yes, let's make a change.
I mean, it's easier to be an activist, but there's like those certain people that don't listen at all, and they'll just like.
It happened on the
Of course. According to my pessimist test, it said I'm severely hopeless.
that -9.
Wow, no, I was only like 3 on the scale.
Oh.
I got a -9.
I was 3 a pessimist.
But like, there's always those people that are just like, nah, it's never gonna change. I don't understand what you're saying. I don't get what you're trying to say.
Do
Like
you think
those
those
people.
people though have existed all throughout the forms of
Yes.
activism in history?
They're just
I feel like that
lower now.
demographic has just always been there,
Yeah,
and they're not really going away.
honestly.
This kind of brings up, I don't know if it was as big as in like different communities, but for us, we actually had, when Childish Gambino released This Is America, the video, and Kanye West released a statement we were talking about a while ago, basically, wondering, well, why didn't this, like, slavery could have been a choice because everybody could have just, like, come together and just had one big slave revolt. I don't think he realizes that, we weren't just a hop, skip, and a jump, and a lot of us couldn't read or write. We didn't have that privilege. A lot of us had to sneak into it, or we were, like, brought in people like Phyllis Wheatley, who, like, who were fortunate enough to learn how to write and learn how to read. A lot of us didn't have that privilege, so it was kind of like, that couldn't have happened. But nowadays with technology, it's easier to kind of get messages spread across. But Karyn brought up an interesting point in that it's not making it better. And for me, I kind of took it, I guess, in a different direction from what she was saying, in that, like, I feel like some people may hear something, not fully do their research, and then just kind of jump in with it instead of kind of like getting the full story, which I think is just as important, because how can you make a solid and sound argument without hearing more than just the side you want to hear, the side that you
Honestly, you brought up Kanye West, which was like,
I don't care about him.
which brings up like this thing in my mind. What he like the clip of the interview that went viral. I was like, what a head ass. Watch my language. Well, like, how can you think about it? But then when you listen to the full interview, you're like, it makes sense the way his mind it works. Like, he has this thing around free thinking, which does not work. Like, you can't live in a society and be a free thinker, because if you, I'm gonna use this as an example. It's a little dark, but if you think something isn't rape, and then you rape someone, like, societally, like, you're a rapist to everybody else but yourself, like, it doesn't change anything. So if free thinking, like, if you tried to think of like that in slavery, it'd just be like ignoring your community, and that just, it doesn't work for
ignoring the fact that you're in shackles.
Yeah,
like,
it's
you
like,
can't,
oh,
you
yo,
can't do that.
let's get out of these shackles, and now you're not in shackles, but you're still in shackles. It doesn't make any sense.
Like, you're getting whipped and you're like, oh, this is fine. It's not happening.
For sure.
I mean, it's like, I'm a person just like them, but I'm just getting whipped. It's different. It's not the same.
You also have to worry about your master too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you can't just all have a slave revolt for fun. Like, I don't know.
I mean, Haiti did it.
Look, we can't all be as cloak as you guys. Just saying.
Kind of like you were saying with the lack of literacy, this is such a specific example, but like, I don't know, I feel like we're kind of diving deep into Kanye's beliefs, which is not the intention.
We can't get this video.
It was just interesting because it was just such a different mind.
And I feel like
a
that's
weird
not
video.
considering like just the privilege of like not even education, like not even public education or anything like that, but just being in a semi-educated society,
Yeah.
or like based in certain moral truths, I guess. Like someone that's completely illiterate and is raised on, like, let's say a plantation for this example, by like an also illiterate family and things like that, they're just not even like, not that they're less smart of a person, because like if they were put in a situation where they could be literate and taught, maybe they'd be like, yeah, just be a free thinker, you can get out of it. But like when you're actually in the situation, it's not gonna happen. It's interesting hearing that though, coming from like his background and the fact that he's included in that community, because it seems just kind of ignorant. of a statement to me.
Yeah,
So we had a whole like 2-meeting word
Yeah.
about this. And
Yeah.
all of us laughed
Yeah,
at
actually, it was that.
We actually
watched
laughed
the
at his
video.
video.
We watched it. We read an article. We
Yeah.
talked about it. Ooh.
We laughed.
I was like, is this satire? Purposely?
You mentioned Childish Gambino's "This Is America," and I thought that was interesting. I think in the past few years, at least, I've noticed an increase or an uptick in diversity intentionally put on the big screen with The Hate U Give and Black Panther, like Night School coming out last year.
Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah, Crazy Rich Asians. Yeah, are those like? Is the sentiment or like are those movies important to you? Why like? Do you like? What do you think about that?
I really think they are. I think that, like, if you have a little girl and she's like watching something happening, like she sees, well, maybe she doesn't think about it, but she sees these characters and she wants to be them, right? But none of them really look like her. It might not like come to mind because I always wanted to be Barbie, like, not gonna lie, like she was white, but like that was my homegirl. But like, you know, but like honestly, if I saw her look like me, I'd be like, wow, this is actually real, because in the back of my mind I knew like I'm not gonna look like Barbie, like it's not gonna happen. But I think that the representation that's like increasing in like these movies and everything, it's just become like so prominent. And I think this future generation is just gonna grow up in a world where like they know they can actually do anything if they like strive for it at least.
You're a free thinker, just release yourself from the box. Just don't let yourself be shackled by brother.
Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna
No, my God, every time I think about that, then I start thinking about the Harvard case
Oh.
with what was it called? Why am I forgetting what this is called?
But is
Harvard
that
talking about.
Harvard, yeah.
Yeah, the one that's going on right now with
Yeah.
Harvard. That's
Using race as a factor
To not.
into admissions.
Isn't it just the Asian people? They're just like not.
They're the ones that are suing. It's an interesting discussion.
the Harvard admissions lawsuit.
Yeah, but what they're fighting
there's a
against
name
is
for
Yeah.
they're fighting
Harvard
against
Oh,
no, it's
Not
not
the
Harvard.
case
name.
It's
For, like,
yeah, the term
the
for
type
like
of-
I was saying like the
discrimination?
case name.
That's the
Discriminating.
we learned about this in We the People. I swear to God, the one at the school in Michigan.
Got her word.
So yeah, affirmative action.
Thank you.
Woo! That took so long for no
Like the-
reason.
yeah.
Yeah.
Early.
Yeah, I don't know why, but yeah, it would just be like, okay,
Yeah,
so
I was-
affirmative action, I think like if you recognize, well, if you think of our society as like historically it's affected the people that are in it currently, and that some people are behind because of history, and that we need to apply things that like help them make it like an equal line. Like the line is slanted, but it's not because we're giving other people an advantage, but it's just to make it more equity instead of equality. And I think that's very important in just like today. I don't even know what we were talking about or what I was referencing. I just know that's what was on my mind. But yeah.
Do you want to dive further into equity versus equality?
Yes.
Any of
Oh
you?
my goodness.
Nismie wants to take the
Yo,
floor.
have you
Get it.
okay, the picture that you always see, it's like the tall guy,
Yeah.
the medium guy, and like the shortest guy, and it's like equality is all of them in a single box. Equity is like the shortest guy on 2 boxes, and middle guy is like on 1 box, and the tall one doesn't need a box because he's already that tall. And that's the way I view affirmative action, because like I think that like some communities have been set back, or like the way that like redlining worked and like laws were created, like some people can get an education and like their families haven't been like preset with like fortune to be able to live in such like fortunate communities to be able to like excel in the world or everything. And with like there's a different view that he was talking about. I'm not gonna label this viewpoint, but it was just like affirmative action is just basically bringing Caucasian people down and like putting like minorities above the line to be able to get admitted. Like racial, like race is being used as something to be admitted into college.
Yeah.
So if it's like a black person versus white person, they have the same credentials or whatever, then a black person would be admitted. And I think that's what, well, I don't even know how that works, but that's like because they're black, I think that's something that people would take into factor, like, oh, so they're black, that's why they got admitted, right? Because that's how affirmative action works. And like in my head, I'd just be like, well, if it was a white person versus a white person, like same thing, but one was male and one was female, and the female got in, would it be because she was female? It would just be like, eeny, meeny, miny, moe, could you tell your body so, you know, who got in, you know? And I think that affirmative action is just, okay, but equity versus equality, it's just that. I feel like affirmative action is within that, in that equity is just like making everything balanced so everybody has the same chance, but equality is like everything we give out is the same, so no one is put at an advantage. But then if everything is the same and everybody's already at like different points where like they're in advantages and some people aren't, then it like skews it, so it's not really equality.
So we're just gonna
Instagram at Karyn.Boateng.
Don't do that.
She has a spam.
She doesn't.
Karen, Karyn.Boateng.
She doesn't post.
When
When was the last time you posted? July of 2017.
Add me on Snapchat.
Somebody go get their PTA mom out of the room.